ממכון סקריפס בסן דייגו, ומרים תתן את ההרצאה באנגלית, ושאר ההרצאות כולם יהיו בעברית. ונושא ההרצאה של מרים, Water and Geochemical Mass Balance, the pore of Subduction.
Alright, אתם שומעים אותי רחוק? אין להם. אוקיי, אני צריך. אוקיי. אתם שומעים אותי עכשיו? לא.
שיעברו קדימה.
אני יכולה ליצור עד כך, אבל מעבר לזה, זה נקרא.
חבר'ה, אנחנו נתחיל את ההרצאה.
אוקיי, אני אנסה לדעת כמה בכל שנייה שלה. על איזה שנים אני לא יודעת. סליחה, זה שיהיה באנגלית. לא נתתי הרצאה בעברית מדעית יותר מ-30 שנה, ואני לא חושבת בעברית. אני לא מכירה את המונחים החדשים. לכן אני חשבתי לעשות את זה באנגלית. סורי. אוקיי. הנושא הזה הוא לא נושא שדנים בו הרבה כאן במחלקה. כפי שאתם רואים כאן, זה נושא מאוד מסובך, בגלל שצריכים גם תיוכים, צריכים submersibles, וצריכים גם כן monitoring stations כדי לעבוד במערכה הזאת על mass balances. הנושא הזה הוא סינתזה של הרבה שנות עבודה, והרבה collaborators הנוכחים בזמן הכי עכשיו קדום, אלה ה-collaborators הכי קדומים. אני אעבור לאנגלית עכשיו, קלה. יאללה, אוקיי. Many people are doing mass balances and budgets in the ocean. And the ultimate objective is very clear. It's very important to understand the cycles, processes, feedbacks, in which solutes in seawater elevation climate. On the other hand, in order to do this kind of mass balances, the inputs and outputs need to be known. Today, I'm going to concentrate on one objective, one part of this objective, and that is the insights on fluids in 4 arcs and the budgets in 4 arcs, something that has not been done before. I think you have to modernize yourself. Okay. people speak about steady state solutes in modern ocean, that is an equation that you see very often in this kind of applications. You take the hydrothermal flux, which is in both ways input and output, and a river flux, which is an input, and these are the outputs. And you see this kind of a balance which is being done. On the other hand, in most of these papers, there are two environments, the subduction zone environment and the rich flux environment, that are not considered in any one of these calculations. I don't speak anymore about groundwater, I'm not going to say much about it, but that's another thing that needs to be looked into. So I'm going to talk about subduction zones today. I'm going to give you a very brief background on the state of the art of rich flank fluxes, and then concentrate on that. Next one. When we look at this fluid flow in the earth crust, that is a sketch. When we look at it, when we take a river and when we take the river and the spreading rivers, these fluxes are very well known. I mean, there are certainly problems with each one of them, but overall, we can say we do know the river flux, and we know the fluxes in rich flux. Next one. The rich flux is problematic. I'm going to talk about it later on. In subduction zones, I'm going to talk after the rich flux. Next one. All right. Let's go to the flux. The flux, the only flux which is very well known in the rich flux, which is most of the ocean, is really a rich flux. שומעים אותי עכשיו? שומעים יותר טוב עכשיו? כן, כן, כן.
עכשיו שומעים.
לא שומעים? שומעים יותר טוב? אוקיי. All right. The rich flux in rich flux. תהיה מוכן לזה? Okay, the real flux which is known in the flanks is the heat budget. We do know what the heat budget is in rich flanks, but we know very little about the geochemistry. The first time that some fluid flow was discovered in rich flanks was in 1991. That is an area in the central equatorial Pacific, which is a huge area of low heat flow, about 6 million kilometers squared. And the question is, why is there such a low heat flow here? When you look at it, you do see here the sediment isocaps, and you see trees about 300 meters, 400 meters. So there's a thick sediment cover in this region. So certainly fluid flow is not seen at the surface. All the isopoints are here, and this region spans from about 15 million years to about 65, 70 million years. So it's a huge region of low heat flow. The drilling program went there and drilled 3 sites to understand this low heat flow in this region. Next slide. So what we saw here, I'm just showing you 2 slides, everything was the same in 3 sections. What was very conspicuous with the pore waters at these 3 sites was that if you look, for example, at the sulfate, it changes with depth. It's about 400 meters here, and that is the basement. But you see it just curves and returns to seawater. Strontium isotopes curve and return to seawater. Strontium curves, returns to seawater. And we saw that in all 3 sites. And the question is, why do these pore fluids return to seawater? The idea was, next slide, the idea behind it was that the return to seawater is that there is a fluid system in the upper igneous basement. And this fluid system is a seawater fluid system. That means it's low temperature, it does not alter the chemistry. And when we modeled this system, we came up that this flow rate is about 1 to 10 meters per year, but it's flowing quite rapidly. And the residence time is not very long, about 20,000 years. So the seawater at low temperature has not changed its chemistry because the reaction time was too short. And so because the reaction time, it affects the heat flow, but it doesn't affect the chemistry of this fluid. Unfortunately, we just saw, that had been modeled it, but we couldn't really sample this fluid in this basement. Next slide shows you that a few years later on, we went to Costa Rica, and offshore Costa Rica, we saw very similar kind of situation, returning strontium isotopes, return calcium, magnesium, and lithium. All of them are returning, but in this case, not exactly to seawater, to something altered, slightly different than seawater. You see where we are. That is Costa Rica. That is the plate which is being subducted, and that's the overriding plate. That is at the Colema here. And this drilling is at this site here, which is about 0.5 kilometers from the trench, just before it goes into the trench. So we saw the similar thing, and we wanted to catch this fluid. So we put an observatory at this site, 0.5 kilometer from the trench. We constructed a conservatory. Next slide. So that is the observatories that we introduced there into the basement in order to catch the fluid. We used fluid capture system, the osmosis samplers, and we developed the flow rate system that you inject some tracer in the center and get fluids out at 4 different sites. And we can get the flow rate out of it, and we can also get the relative direction of the fluid's flow in this environment. So after 2 years, the next slide, we saw these pore waters, and we analyzed, and we really captured the fluid in this case, the formation fluid. But interestingly enough, what we found out, that the strontium isotopes of this fluid is more radiogenic than the strontium isotopes of seawater. So there is something is coming from the continental environment. So what we saw, that the chemistry of not only the strontium isotopes, but any one of these components, when we did some mixing calculations of seawater, and the chemistry of the fluids that we recovered from the Colema, we recovered some fluids there, because this kind of a fluid mixture. So what we discovered here is that actually that the subduction zones are draining fluids into the ocean, in the upper oceanic crust, and that's why this water is not seawater. So again, we got formation water, but we really didn't get a rich flank type of formation water because it was a mixture of fluids. Next slide. So the other areas, we saw the same situation, in similar situation, Guatemala Basin, Eastern Equatorial Pacific, and there is the only 2 places that formational fluids were actually captured was in the Juan de Fuca plate at 3.5 million crust, but that's very warm, 64 million years. So the chemistry there is very altered, it's not seawater. But if you take the flux of heat flow and you look how much water if you have to circulate in order to get this low heat flow in most of the environment, you cannot really have it at this high temperature. If the other fluids that was captured, that was again off Costa Rica, there is a fluid, a basement high that is called the Laredo outcrop, and that's much lower temperature, 10 to 20 degrees, 33 million plus. But this fluid looks more like seawater, but there were problems with this fluid. There was some contamination. The sampling is not very easy. So these fluids are not very well known. So that's where we are actually. We don't really have fluid chemistry from the rich flank. So I will leave you with that. Very soon we are going to have these fluids from the rich flank, so we will get more acquainted with the fluxes from the rich flank. So I'm going to move now to subduction zones. Next slide. Here we are in subduction zones. We are very concerned about fluid flow for many, many years, for all kinds of reasons, geochemical, geophysical reasons. The fluids are playing a very significant role in subduction zones. And what are the main sources of the fluids in this kind of environment? Here we have a subduction zone, a different kind of subduction zone.
What are the main fluids? Sediment compaction, certainly, tectonic compaction, mineral dehydration, both in the sediments and in the basement, hydrocarbon generation, and then sulfidization occurs, and then eventually it gets dehydrated. So there are several sources of fluid in this subduction zone, and the question is, where does it go? How much comes out in arcs? How much goes into the mantle? And how much comes out at the 4 arcs and affects seawater chemistry? Next slide. So the 5 best studied subduction zones are these, but I'm going to give you a synthesis of other subduction zones as well, but most of the data are coming from these 5 subduction zones, and you can see the drilling project alone has been several times at these subduction zones, so we have a lot of information about these 5. Next slide. Now, when we talk about subduction zones, there are actually 2 types of subduction zones. They're called accretionary and erosive subduction zone. And they're very different in styles. According to the accretionary margins, the lithology, for example, is mostly simply sandy. The erosional margins, the lithology, is more clay pelagic. And there are some implications about the fluids because they are for geochemistry, hydrology, permeability, and the draining characteristics. So there are differences between the subduction zones, but I'm going to lump all of them together and give you the synthesis of all of them together. One thing which is very important, when we go to the 4 arc, most of the fluid that exits the 4 arc is focused, and it comes along all kinds of faults. Next slide. People were trying to do some calculation about the water budget, the fluid budget in subduction zones. And you have here all kinds of different calculations. And let's talk about water here, not the solutes. And it's in kilometer cube per year or 10 to 15 grams per year. And the differences between the different publications arises what they took into account. Some of them just calculated the compaction, what's available from compaction, some from the hydrated minerals in sediments. So they accounted for different sources, and that's why the different. So when you take the more volumes, that is the highest one, 2.6, and Hacker, these are the higher ones. And recently, we went back and calculated the amount of water in 2014, and we got a little bit higher values than more volume, but in the ballpark, 2.9, 2.2, 10 to 15 grams or grams per year, or kilometer cube per year. So we came up with this number, and I'm going to use this number in the calculations and show you the solute fluxes. You all know that's the sea of the ocean, and these are the global arcs, so we do know what the global arcs outputs are. Next slide. So our new calculation is based on Planck and Langmuir input average sediment into subduction zones, and we took the pore volume from this publication. We took the average amount of water into regional sediments, and primarily clays and opal A. And then we took the hydration of the basement from this publication, the hydration of the basement. So we came to this estimate, and we took out the arc output because it cannot come out in the 4 arcs. So the question is how much fluid is coming out of the 4 arc. So we have to take out the output from the 4 arc, from the arcs, volcanoes. So we come up with this number, fluid remaining, assuming that none goes to the back arc or to the mantle. So we really don't know how much is the back arc and the mantle. So we're assuming the total minus the arc is coming out of the 4 arc. So this is a maximum, but not, how much goes to the mantle, we really don't know. So we're going to make a maximum, which is going to the ocean. Next one. Then we had to consider all kinds of reactions which are going on, diagenetic reactions, metamorphic reactions, and we have to put some temperature ranges on these reactions. And the obvious one of the opal, there's clay dehydration, zeolite, oceanic basement hydration dehydration, hydrocarbon dehydration. So I'm putting some temperature on these different reactions, there are others as well. Just give you an example. And next slide. We took the models the thermal models of these 5 subduction zones. You can see here Costa Rica, there are 2 of them, Costa Rica are here, Barbados, Japan, and Cascadia. And here you have, based on these models, the heat models, you see the distance from the formation, what the temperature is. You can see that the Cascadia, which are erosive margins, the trench is very low temperature, the trench. Barbados is a very old subduction zone. It's not very high temperature, the trench increases with depth. These are, the all increases certainly. These are the 2 Japanese ones, 2 sections of the Japanese transects with higher heat flow. The hottest subduction zone is Cascadia. You see the temperature here at the trench. At this temperature, all the clays already are dehydrated, so the fluid budgets are very different there. So that has to be taken into account in calculating the budget. Next slide. And then, you superimpose it again at a distance from the front. And here we have the fluid source. And you're taking certain reactions, and you're calculating where the fluid is going to come out. For example, these are 3 sections in Japan. That is the lowest heat flow. You can see the lowest heat flow, the maximum fluid is coming out at greater distance from the trench than the higher ones. Here you have, of Costa Rica, we have 2 reactions and 2 basements, the Cocos plate and the East Pacific Right plate. That is the cooler plate and that is the warmer plate. And you can see compaction is coming out at a very early time. And here we have both opal A, and that is the smeckite. So you can see that as the hotter plate, the maximum fluid is coming out earlier than that. So these kind of calculations were taken into account. Next slide. And then the question is, what are the driving forces of fluid expulsion from the fore? And there are all kinds of forces which provide, the driving force for fluids to be expelled from the fore. Certainly tectonical gradient compaction, elevated surface pore fluid pressure, these are very important ones. There's gas expulsion, there's a buoyancy. In the shallower parts, there's bioirrigation, there's density driving, because some of the fluids become very dilute, so there is some buoyancy there as well. And tidal flow is also very important. Next slide. So now, when we go to the fluid budget in the fore, what is the fluid chemistry? We go to seeps. One way to get fluid chemistry is to go to seeps and analyze the seeps. And the question is, from what depths are coming. And when we go to any one of the seeps, and actually, when you go today to subduction zone, to the slopes of subduction zones, and you dive, there are thousands of seeps everywhere. The first seep that was found, the first hydrothermal vent, everybody jumped up and down, excited about it. But when you dive today, just all over the place, there's so much seeping going on. So that's one way, and different seeps are coming from different depths. And then after that, there's drilling. And the drilling depends, where you drill it, there are all kinds of transitive drilling also at different depths. So how do we calculate, the solid fluxes? When we look at these fluids in seeps and in drilling fluids, or monitoring station fluids, we see some characteristic fluids, and we can put some numbers, but if it's coming down from the up deep is the zone where the seismogenesis begins. It's about assumed to be by models at about 150 degrees. What we see is that the fluids are diluted, they've lost potassium, they gained these, and then there are all kinds of changes in the isotopes of these fluids as well. And you see thermogenic hydrocarbons. These components are being utilized very early because of biogeochemistry in this environment, so they are strongly impacted by shallow geochemical reactions. And that is the up-deep fluid. Next, yeah. So when we look at the up-deep fluid, we are trying to actually interpret from where they are coming up deep. We are also using some experimental data. I'm just giving you some examples. You see experimental data of alkali basalt and seawater. You see all the alkalis with temperature up to 350 degrees centigrade. And what you can see is that eventually all of them are fluid-loving, actually, all the alkalis, but they have different characteristics where the fluids are coming out. For example, here, first of all, the fluid is being taken out and coming out, lithium and cesium and rubidium. So we're taking this kind of data that we have. Next slide. And also, it's very important because the question is about retrograde reactions. So here you have some experiments that indicate something about retrograde reaction. For lithium, for example, that's a reaction with heating, and that's a retrograde reaction. That is a spiked experiment. You see the heating and the retrograde. So we see very little retrograde reactions with some of these components, and that we're taking them more seriously because we may have some retrograde reaction with some components that we really don't have the experimental data yet. Next slide. I give you a typical example of up deep fluids. That's off Costa Rica, and we are here after the trench. We have here a site which penetrated through the column and went into the lower subducted sediments. In this case, there is no accretion. All the sediments are being subducted. So that is a section which is being subducted, and that is the column, and these are some faults. So when you look in trace fluids, you see very clearly that the faults are leading in chemistry. Here you see some lithium, hydrocarbons, and calcium. In terms of fluid flux from the arc into the ocean. Next slide. Goes to the down deep. There's another boundary beyond which there's no more seismogenesis, and that, by model is about 350 degrees centigrade. And they're using some other geochemical parameters like chlorine isotopes, helium isotopes, that we are using for this kind of sources, which we don't see much evidence, in the updeep zone environments. So the pathways also are again focused, and certainly the flow is probably transient. And the most important focus out of the polymer, out of sequence, splay, high angle format flow, different kinds of flow. And also, there are some horizons of high probability, like turbidites sometimes have high probability. So these horizons are being used as well, for the pathways. And it turns out that the upper oceanic basement is very porous. It's about 10% porosity, and it's being used also as a pathway for fluid flow. Next. Yeah. Now I'll give you two examples of the down deep fluids. Here we are off Japan. That is a very hot subduction, but we remember that that was very warm very quickly. And we have here a section, we have here about 1,300 meters. That is the column. Here some of the sediments are scraped off, some of the sediments are being subducted, and that is the column. So you see something which is very interesting, is a huge chloride anomaly that is closer to the arc, and that's closer to the ocean. So there's a concept here, you can see the dilution is much stronger here than here. So the question is, what is the dilution? And that was explained as a source that clay dehydrated, zeolite dehydrated, that's when the chloride is diluted here. But that seems to be incorrect. And we go to the chlorine isotopes, and the standard is seawater, which is 0 isotopes. You can see that the chlorine isotopes are negative. What we are seeing here, we are seeing very high temperature reactions of hydrogen silicates, amphiboles, lawsonites, and others, hydrous minerals, which are taking out chlorine. And they're taking out chlorine, they're taking the heavy chlorine, and the fluid is becoming lighter in chlorine isotopes. So when we have the chlorine isotopes, we can distinguish between dilution from dehydration and dilution by high temperature reactions. That is one of the typical example. That is the transit of Japan, and that is the site which is further towards the arc. Next slide. Helium isotopes as well. When you look at helium isotopes, that's the oceanic mantle, that is the crustal production, that is atmospheric. So when we sampled near the conduits, we got helium isotopes which are above atmospheric. When we went in between the conduit, we got, these helium isotopes. We went in between the conduits because, as you know, there is a lot of cosmogenic helium isotopes in oceanic sediments. And we didn't know if these numbers come from the cosmogenic isotopes sediment. So we had to go in between the conduits to show that the cosmogenic sediments are not providing really much helium in this environment. This is really helium from the mantle. Next slide, you can see when you go towards the columnar, the helium isotope is towards the columnar. When you get lower chloride, you're getting higher helium isotopes. So these are the kind of considerations we have to take into account from where the fluids are coming and what the chemistry is, experiments and observations together, and modeling all these data together. Now, next slide. So that is what we have been doing for a long time. I'm still working with some people. We're still modeling. I will give you the numbers of subduction zone fluxes of solutes. But these numbers, we are still working on these numbers. Within about 3 months, we have to finish the manuscript to have it all ready. So the numbers I'm going to give you today are going to be about plus minus 10% of what it really is, because we're still working on it. To our surprise, I showed you how much water is in the system, and what we can expect is the maximum to be expelled. And then when we take the chemistry, we get the flux. But when you go to the seeps, and you measure some fluid fluxes in the seeps, Japan, Cascadia, wherever you go, the seeps are providing enormous numbers of fluid flux, much more than the fluids that we are getting what's going into the system. And that was very puzzling. At the beginning, when it was found at one place, it was thought that it's just a local aberration, that there is sort of a seep which is draining the whole margin there, and that is just something unusual. But then it was repeated everywhere. Many of the seeps all around the Pacific are giving these very high fluxes coming out of this environment. So the total estimated output, minus, that's what we said. Now, we came up with that 1 kilometer cube per year. But when we take into account what we get into the seeps, we're getting about 4 times more fluid coming out when we measure the seeps. So what is the source of this fluid, and what do you do with it, actually? Next slide. So there's a mismatch between the input and output fluxes, that it implies there's additional sources of fluid, or steady-state fluid fluids, it's more the additional sources of fluid. So the question is, and I told you now, the deep fluid is about 0.3 of the total flux, so we have an excess of 0.7 from 1 that is coming out of this environment. So these are possible sources. We're still struggling with it, and the idea is that somehow there's some input of seawater into the system, and the question is now, what is the input of seawater? When you have gas expulsion, you're getting some input of seawater, and we have some fluid flux meters at the surface seeing downflow and upflow. So you see a lot of downflow of water. Bioirrigation is very, very shallow. Some will consider it very seriously, but that is a very important process which is happening, because most of these fluids are full of gases, which is being, replenished with seawater coming into. In the deeper section, we certainly see serpentinization. And, in the outer reach, before the plates are entering into the subduction zones, they are being faulted to great depth. And this faulting is introducing seawater into the basement, which is causing serpentinization. For example, off Costa Rica, when we take the velocities of the basement there, it suggests that we have about 15% serpentinization there. So there is a lot of influx of seawater into the system, which is not being taken into account, and that is about 0.7 of the total of the fluid flux that we are seeing coming out of the environment. Next slide. So I'm just giving you here again the 0.6, 0.7. So the question that when we take when we take into account this fluid flux as well, we are coming up with this number instead of 2.4 to 0.9. They're coming out with this flux of fluid from the 4 arcs. 12 to 14 kilometer cube per year. Now, if we take the ocean volume, and we are trying to see, and what people did at the Ridgecrest, how often does the whole ocean circulate through the Ridgecrest or through subduction down the forearcs, they are coming out with numbers in 100 and 150 million years. The whole ocean is circulating through the forearc, which is a huge number, and it's compared to the number the Elderfield should spot for the Ridgecrest, but it's a little bit lower. I mean, it's a bit longer than the calculation by Germain gone down later on. But it's a significant number which is coming out through the forearcs. Next slide. So now when we do this calculation, we do the modeling, we take all these into account, and I'm calculating, based on chemistry, I'm being very conservative. I'm taking only 20% of the chemistry is coming from real reactions in subduction zones, and 80% is dilution by seawater. So I'm just being very conservative now, and I'm doing this calculation. I'm coming out with these numbers. I'm just giving you some of them. Magnesium, these are sinks, that's examples of sinks and sources. Magnesium, calcium, potassium, and sulfate, 15% of your flux. Calcium, you're going to have the magnesium isotopes within the next month. Calcium, 100% of Ridgecrest hydrothermal input, 10% of your flux. Potassium, you see huge numbers in terms of fluxes compared to the inputs that we know. And then we have sources for strontium, boron, lithium. There's a huge strontium that are coming out from the forearc into the ocean. And then certainly there are some effects on the isotopes. I'm giving you just two of them, strontium isotopes and lithium isotopes. You can see subduction zone averages here. And then you're having now the river hydrothermal and seawater. So you can see the impact of these averages with this type of fluxes on the seawater chemistry. So next slide. So I really want to complete with just one important conclusion, that we really want to understand geochemical cycles and make mass balances seriously. We have to take into account the forearc input into the ocean. That is something new we haven't considered before, and the ridge flanks are still, a frontier that is being tackled by several people today. The last slide I'd like to show you, I'm not going to read all of that, but I'm just going to indicate to you that we are geologists. In geology, things are changing, and therefore what we see today was not always the same situation. If you take the input of sediments, today, if you look at all the subduction zones in the ocean today, carbonate is a very minor mineral which is being subducted today. You barely find carbonates being subducted today, unless you go to the Middle America Trench, then you have some carbonate being subducted. It's mostly silicates, opal, which does not exist, which is a very different kind of sediment that we had during the Tethys. During the Tethys in the Cretaceous, when CO2 was very high in the atmosphere, most of the subduction zones had carbonates. So opal, the ardularians, never very important in the ocean as the diatoms. The diatoms control 90% of the silica budget in the ocean. The ardularians never did it, and that's why seawater silica profiles used to be very different in the past. You had shallow water churks, which you don't have later on in the tertiary. Things have changed in the ocean. The diatoms have made a huge change in terms of where silica is. Ardularians were mostly in the equatorial regions, and diatoms are everywhere, especially in the margins. So you have some diatomaceous sediments with 70% diatoms going into the subduction zones. So when we look at geology, we have to realize that things have changed, and we have to model things, how the fluid flux was different in the past versus today. But because we do know the geology, once we have some handle on the present, we can go to the past and model the past as well, and see the relationship between these fluxes and the atmospheric composition as well. Thank you.
תודה רבה למרים. אני רוצה להוסיף כמה מילים עכשיו. כיוון שמרים תמיד באה כאן לכבודם של אנשים שונים, הרבה שנים לכבודו של בן פאו, והפעם לכבודם של סטלבר, ואני חושב שההרצאה הזאת זו פעם ראשונה אולי שאנחנו שומעים אותך כבר הרבה שנים, מראה מה שמרים עושה, ותודה רבה, הייתה הרצאה גדולה.